that you guys have 1 minute remaining. At the time that you guys are done, clap my hands twice, and you have around 15 seconds after that to summarize your speech. You also have the option to either use this mic or the mic that is placed in front of you. Yeah. So let's invite the first speaker from side affirmative. You're here.
Wow, that was so warm, and thank you so much. Before I start, could I get a minute to give my shout outs, please? Is that possible? 30 seconds, okay. First of all, I thank my God to enable us to be here. I'm also thankful to my mom and my dad who are currently watching through the live session. I love you guys so much. Thank you to my friends who are here today. Thank you to my teammates. I'm super proud of all the dedication and the hard work that you guys have put in. And yeah, let's have a debate. All right. I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, more than 60% of Africa's people are under the age of 25. This means that the youth of Africa hold in their hands and their hearts the power of tomorrow. They are the engineers of growth and financial inclusion, right? But before I get into that, my name is Akari Nika. I am a representative of Team Red for the EU debate. Now, the winner of this debate is a person that's going to necessarily prove one thing. They're going to prove that sustainability in accordance to the motion, right? We tell you that the problem is not the lack of talent. We tell you that the problem is the issue of this motion is channeling these talents into opportunities that secure livelihoods and build nations. And we believe that entrepreneurship stands at the cornerstone of this growth. We're not here to just debate, but we're here to envision a future where businesses lead the future. So what am I going to do for you today? I'm going to do 3 things, judges and audience. I'm going to define the key terms. I'm going to explain the major problem in this motion, and I'm going to outline our arguments. First, I'll start. Who do we think a business owner is? We believe a business owner is that local hairstylist that just opened their shop in your neighborhood, but we also believe that a business owner is a successful tycoon. For example, we talk of Mo and we talk of Bahresa and the likes. So what do these guys have in common? What they have in common is they are self-driven individuals that take calculated risks. Number 2, they create opportunities for growth, and they steer their vision into the future. They're characterized by having their own schedules, they manage their own finances, but most importantly, they have risks, but they are rewarded with potential for growth. On the other hand, employment stands on two fronts. We have formal employment and we have informal employment. Formal employment, verbal or written agreement between a professional and an organization that specifies their duties, their pay structures, and their benefits, right? But when it comes to informal employment, and this is something that side negative needs to talk about as well, these guys don't necessarily pay taxes. They are not exposed to these benefits whatsoever. Now, the most important part, right? Sustainable income. We believe that sustainable income, we liken it to a syringe that never stops pumping, right? So this is steady income sufficient to meet your long-term financial needs. The key characteristics for an income to be sustainable is 1, stability, ability for this income to pass on from generation to generations. Number 2, growth potential and inclusive growth. But another thing is diversification of this income. And the last thing is risk mitigation. We're going to prove from you how we attain all of these things, or at least majority of them. Now, I know side negative is going to come and talk about how regular jobs ensure stability because of the concept of a fixed salary. We tell you that number 1, stability equates to stagnation, and this is not necessarily sustainable because as you keep on growing, your expenses keep on increasing, and therefore the income that you gain will not be able to sustain that those expenses that you have. So we don't necessarily think that these guys are right. They have a burden to prove to us with increase in inflation and changes in the market, how their slow salary growth will be able to prove sustainability in the first place. But another thing, they'll come and talk about lack of capital to entrepreneurs. We tell you that no, this is not very true because there are multiple opportunities that are being given to these individuals who want to pursue entrepreneurship. As we heard of the EU Gateway Program, grants that provide even about 1 trillion Tanzanian shillings to small, medium enterprises, right? We have UNDP grants and the like. These people will talk about it. But we don't necessarily say that, okay, we don't have, these opportunities are there, but they are few, right? we tell you that, okay, let's get into our arguments, right? We tell you that owning a business helps individuals to attain financial freedom. Number 2, it enables people in marginalized communities to sustain their income. Number 3, we talk about enabling diversifications through multiple income streams. And number 4, we talk about potential for growth. I'm going to speak on financial freedom. Having financial freedom means having enough income to cover your expenses, right? The thing is simple, okay? This is a very simple concept. People are poor because they don't have a source of income, and they don't have a source of income because they don't have jobs. And who provides these jobs? Businesses are the ones who provide these jobs. So don't you think that the problem is the ecosystems that have been set in place that don't enable these businesses to actually grow in the first place? When I talk about the ecosystems, I mean the regulation constrictions that have been set in place. I talk about the extreme tax cuts which are provided to these businesses. This is not a problem of entrepreneurship in and of itself. It is a problem of the systems that have been set in place. And we believe that we solve this problem because if we do account for these reasons, then we are going to create a world where businesses thrive and people necessarily better their lives, right? I conclude with the words of Hakim Bello Osagie. In today's world, paradoxically, it is the boldest action that is often the safest. Remaining where you are in a world that is changing constantly and so rapidly is in fact the most dangerous of all places to be in. Never been prouder to propose. Thank you.
We thank that speaker for that speech. We would now like to invite the first speaker from side opposition. Hear, hear.
Okay. I start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take you back to the year 1929, where the world faced the most catastrophic economic crisis history has ever seen, the Great Economic Depression. But before that, my name is Venus Ruta, and I'm the first speaker from side opposition. So, the Great Economic Depression, huh? Businesses collapsed. Entrepreneurs lost everything overnight. Banks shut down. But do you know who still had food on their table? Do you know who was at a better position, although everybody was affected? That one guy with a regular government job. And this just reflects the nature of regular jobs, and not just government ones. They're like lifeboats in an economic storm, while entrepreneurs struggle to swim for survival. And I commend side proposition for that motivational speech, but we are here today not to be motivated, but to learn from facts, realities, and practicalities of the world that we lived and live in now. So having highlighted these facts and realities, I'll start with what having a regular job looks like to us. So 1, it looks like having a fixed monthly paycheck that guarantees stability. 2, it looks like earning income in a less risky way. 3, it looks like being able to regenerate income without the fear of losing your main income stream. 4, it looks like growing professionally and skill-wise. And ladies and gentlemen, I have just touched on the 4 important elements of sustainable income, but I'm going to keep it flat for you guys to understand. 1, it is an income that mitigates risk through predictability, a word that is clearly not associated with entrepreneurship, but with a regular job. 2, it is an income source that is stable, like the one offered by a regular job, while for entrepreneurship, profits fluctuate according to existing economic conditions. 3, it is an income with potential for diversification without fear of losing the main income stream, as it is done by entrepreneurs where they have to put their focus in even the incomes they diversify and generally shifting their attention. 4, it looks like an income source whose growth is not limited by resource accessibility and constraints. And I'll get more into this while I am explaining my arguments. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want first to cite the 4 main burdens that side proposition have to prove to us today. Number 1, is how risk versus reward in entrepreneurship equals to stability. Number 2, how the stability they offer is practical and not only dynamic. Number 3, how they have the potential to diversify their income streams actively without affecting their main income stream. Number 4, how they better have access to growth resources like capitals and loans than regular job owners. So I'll start by outlining our points, which actually prove all these burdens that we have laid forward for side proposition. So these points are accessibility to growth resources, predictability of income, success rates, impact of external economic conditions, which will be covered by the first, second, third, and fourth speaker, respectively. So starting with the first point, which is the access to growth resources. Access to growth resources is better in regular jobs. So first, I will tell you why this is true and how does it work. So people with regular jobs have room to leverage employers' resources for growth professional-wise. We have big institutions like the University of Dar es Salaam, where they have different teachers, they have lecturers, assistant lecturers, and we see how they're able to provide scholarships for these people to grow professionally, and when they come back, they don't go back to those same positions, they grow. The growth aspect you're talking about for sustainable income. But for entrepreneurs, especially for small businesses and startups, they don't have this accessibility is not as easy. It's not easy for them to access loans like a person with a regular job would. It is not very easy for these people to access capital. And while they might focus on the large entrepreneurs like Bakresa and more, let me tell you that those make up the 1% of the population. We're talking about the other people who are struggling in this sector. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude my point by telling you why this is important and how it is related to sustainable income. This is important because this growth is what brings sustainability, what keeps a person in a position to cater for their long-term needs. And so I will leave you with words to ponder. Remember, being an employee might mean working 9 to 5, but being an entrepreneur means working 24/7 and calling it freedom. Thank you.
We thank that speaker for that fine speech. We will now invite the second speaker from side affirmative. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. In this rapidly changing world, where there are new challenges and opportunities, and the technology is racing at an unprecedented pace, the traditional labor market is no longer stable as it was. Therefore, being an entrepreneur is not just an option, but a necessity. I'm Eric Josephat Kaja, and I'm here to propose and strongly support that having your own business guarantees a more sustainable income than a regular job. I'll start by rebutting the former opposition speaker. You first said that regular jobs promote a stable income by forming a fixed monthly paycheck, but that is stagnation, and it's not sustainability, because today you are paid 1 million, later you have 4 children. How is that 1 million going to sustain the whole family? The second thing, instead of grants, allowances, but in small businesses we have grants and allowances. For example, the EU last year on October, through the Imbeju and the Imbeju project, supported more than 4,000 small businesses, particularly, and started and gave allowances to 18 startups in Tanzania, costing more than 1.4 billion. And I will support my motion by saying 1.01 argument is that self-owned businesses create a chance or gives a chance for marginalized communities to obtain income and have sustainable income, therefore supporting inclusive growth. For a person to have a white-collar job as a nurse, a doctor, or a teacher, he needs to have a diploma, a degree, or a master's. But starting a business requires only soft skills, maybe if it's cooking, to become a food vendor, or if you are a tailor, just tailoring skills and being given small allowances. Therefore, for marginalized communities, particularly women in rural areas who have no access to formal education, where can they obtain money to run their families? And that is through small businesses. And as you know, the position of women in Africa. Supporting a woman that means you're supporting the whole family. A woman-led businesses that cater for the family needs, that means it's going to bring development in the whole family, cater for the needs, services, health services, social services, water, and all about that. Therefore, that's bringing inclusive growth. When you speak about inclusive growth, that's sustainable income. Example, I have said that also the International Labour Organization, through the Women Entrepreneurship Program, is funding and supporting women-led businesses in 5 countries in Asia and Africa. And the recent data show that 50% of those have increased their profit after that funding and innovation provided by the International Labour Organization. Thank you.
We thank that speaker for that fine speech. We now like to invite the second speaker from side opposition. Here.
Protocol observed. My name is Nemo Chola, second speaker from the opposition. And before I start my speech, I'd just like to comment from the previous speaker that just left the podium. If something is a necessity, then it has to meet all the requirements you need. But regular jobs have proved to meet all the requirements one needs to make sure they meet their day-to-day life needs, rather than entrepreneurship that is constantly faced by changes and unpredictability. Rather, it cannot fit to suffice all the needs one needs to meet on a day-to-day basis, especially when you gave an example of a person with a family of 4. They need a more stable income, not an income that constantly fluctuates. Now I will start my point by taking you back and reminding you a bit on what Mark Twain said. I would like to use this quotation as to my advantage, although it may seem controversial, that for a person to succeed, you need 2 things. 1, ignorance, and 2nd, you need confidence. Now I'm going to tell you my points that are predictability and the future security. When I'm going to elaborate on this point, I will tell you 4 aspects. 1 is, how is this true? And how does it work? Why does it matter? And the relevance of this according to our motion. Before I proceed, allow me to bring it to our attention that the employment we are talking about is what fits the description that has been provided under Section 13 to Section 44 of the Employment and Labor Relations Act of 2019, Chapter 366. Under these provisions, irregular employment also includes having a timely and a fair remuneration, which into our context, it's a monthly remuneration. Hence, a profit that is earned or an income earned from the regular employment is predictable. One can plan the future because the income is predictable. But the income from regular jobs is also sustainable because it's secured. An employee is secured from the unseen and the seeable risks. For example, sick is also paid. But an entrepreneur who is sick has lost a day because they cannot earn on that day. But also, a regular employee is protected in the future in case of retirement because they have retirement benefits. And these retirement benefits come from the social security schemes that are mandatory to all the employees. Hence, their income is more sustainable even at the time when they cannot be more productive as they were when they were young. And therefore, I would like to recommend a regular job because entrepreneurship cannot suffice this. And let me cement on this. In a perfect market that is faced by constant competition and consumer preferences, entrepreneurship is faced by constant changes and unpredictability. And policies of a nation that keep changing affects entrepreneurship. Thank you.
We thank that speaker for that fine speech. We'd now like to invite the third speaker from side affirmative. Here.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Timothy Jeremiah. I am going to start my speech. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Imagine fixed to a single person. That means that you're going to have multiple stream of income, and that income can sustain you even to uncertain conditions. And this guy is not a dream, but the power of entrepreneurship. And my argument is entrepreneurship provides multiple flow of income. And according to Strober, during the COVID-19 pandemic, it have seen that 50%, and this actually is to many people. So, the opposition side have said that during pandemics or most of entrepreneurs lose their job. That's not true, because much as entrepreneurs provide that education. So, according to International Labour Organization, 7 out of 10 workers are employed in the small, medium enterprises. And these small and medium enterprises, it have been gathered in 99 countries, and it showed that over 7% of the national GDP of this 99% are being derived from these small and medium enterprises. And by saying so, entrepreneurship also provides the field of employment. For example, if you take into account to these people who are being successful in entrepreneurship, for example, Model G and others, they have created opportunities to others. So by creation of opportunities, it reduces the rate of poverty, and also it reduces the rate of unemployment. And this reduction of poverty and reduction of unemployment rate, it's actually going to raise the national GDP. And it's coming to Tanzania, over the 7% of these small and medium enterprises, it has contributed to 35% of the national GDP. Okay? They say that entrepreneurship does not meet all needs, and that's actually false. If you are an entrepreneur, you are going to increase your income, you're going to increase your channels, because you're not restricted. For example, some of the contracts, they restrict some regular job workers to do more than one job. So, and also, for talking about the future security of your income, the future security of your income relies on entrepreneurship, because by 2030, most of these white-collar jobs are going to collapse due to the innovation and due to the rise of entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Right. We thank that speaker for that speech. May we now invite the third speaker from side opposition. Here, here.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear judges, I'm going to start my speech. Percent fail within first year, and 50% fail within 5 years, and almost 7% point of years. This shows how we are choosing an own business over a regular job is because the rate of success failure is very high. Before elaborating my point, my good names are Stephen Levocatus, and I'm from opposition side. Now, my point is success rate, and I'm going to elaborate it in a single sentence like, regular jobs have higher success rate than self-business. So I'm going to elaborate how is this possible. So it works like this. Enterprises face a lot of challenges toward attaining sustainability. So such challenges include like insufficient capital, whereby many enterprises lack insufficient capital to operate, function like marketing and growth of an income. Also, there is competition from well-established brands. The most retail business in Tanzania are challenged by the well-established brands, in which the market become very insufficient, and hence the rate of success become high. Also, there is a higher taxation rate, which increases the cost for operations, hence it increases the rate of success failure in enterprises. Now, on the other side, on the part of formal job, success is higher because the rate of success in formal jobs is high because it only requires skills and knowledge and education for one to be employed, does not need a capital. Now, I'm going to finish my presentation by giving relevant examples. Example number one, we look the company of Nokia. It is mobile phone market by failing to adapt into the new screen technology, iOS and Android technology. The second example is Kodak camera. In 1975, the Kodak camera was the main in the market, but they failed to adapt to digital technology, and hence they lost their market and hence failure of the business. Now, I'm going to leave you with a quote from the famous scientist Albert Einstein. It states that insanity is a repetition of the same thing expecting different results. Thank you.
We think that's speaker and speech. We will now invite the fourth speaker from side. Affirmative. Here, here.
I begin my speech on 3, 2, 1. So the opening team has just given us the strongest point and very beautiful point. But I'm here to strongly, Okay, I'm here strongly to defend the point that says income stability, sustainable income can be only achieved through entrepreneurship. And the following are my arguments. The first one is control and growth potential. In the business owner has direct control over resources, risk, and profit that are accounted for it. So that to adapt to this risk, they usually come up with different ways of innovation in order to solve commercial challenges, as well as to capture the market and to capture the market, but also to ensure they win the market by increasing their income through increase the prices. This can generate income through franchising and investment. But also it can rise to the generation of income in the wide world, in the national level, whereby entrepreneurs and such as small enterprises, they pay tax, but also they are required to fill their licenses, whereby the government gets that income. So how does this guarantee sustainable income? As what we say that sustainable income is a type of income that accounted for stability, it accounted for risk mitigation, but also it accounted for resistance. So one among the components of sustainable income is risk mitigation. And so from the point of view of the argument, entrepreneurs mitigate the risk through franchising, diversifying investment, that's all supported by growth potential and control. Can we take a look or an example of someone started enterprise of him to take another clothes beauty outfit. So to see that Jabe is, but he was there and he was ready to innovate and do such stuff so that to earn sustainable income. Thank you.
We thank that speaker for that fine speech. We'd now like to invite the fourth speaker from side opposition. Here, here.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you all for reaching this stage, the proposer side and the opposing side. I'd like to congratulate you all. And the audience, you all look great. Welcome. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Salary is the bribe that one is given so as to forget his or her dreams. Fine, sounds fun, right? These are not my words. It's Kevin O'Reilly, one of the famous businessmen in Canada. I am Elian Eradius, and I'm going to prove how this is right unless proven wrong. So let's sail together and indulge on how to prove this statement not right. Having a regular job facilitates a stable income. Having a regular job ensures that one has financial stability. And this is because when someone has a regular job, okay, and this is because when person has a regular job, is less affected by external economic conditions. So what are these external economic conditions? The external economic conditions such as bad company news, such as that of 2018 of Facebook, the data and information of its users. Also management and also fluctuation in the market. So all these affect the like how business not affect the employees. Okay, I also have the same kind of question, but I'll help you to know how does this affect the business owners and not employees. First, laws and jurisdictions favors when it happens like there is a bankruptcy, total shutdown of the company. So when the company happens to shut down, the first people to be paid are the employees in favor of even the stakeholders or suppliers, other creditors in the company. Also, you may ask yourself, then why can the business owners fire these employees? Yes, it's possible for the business owners to fire these employees, but under one condition. Yes, you'll have to fire me as an employee, but you'll have to pay me all the money that you had to pay me each month at once. Just like how Neymar Santos Jr. was paid over 200 million euros just for playing 7 matches, scoring 1 goal and giving 2 assists. So that was a bingo to him. They terminated the contract, but he also won. Okay, so the impact of this. This is very important in ensuring that one is capable of planning for the future. So when you're an employee, you are aware of the amount of money that you're going to get. So you can plan for future, you can diversify, you can invest in stocks and bonds and stuff like that. Just like how NVIDIA, a company that is very famous in artificial intelligence, soon it experienced a downfall in the stock value by 17%. It experienced a downfall in the stock value by 17%. But this did not affect the employees, but it affected the employees and the business owners. I'll sum up. If I really and doing a commentary on the current financial situation at NVIDIA, I would say like, financial manager, graphic designers, coders, what pressure? Pressure is for the business owners.
All right. We thank that speaker for that fine speech. We'd now like to invite the fifth speaker from Side Affirmative. Here.
Such an interesting debate, am I right? Anyways, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. My name is Kija Faraja. I am the affirmative sides whip, and I'm here to do two things. I'm going to analyze the clashes that were here, and I'm going to show you how Team Affirmative has won throughout this debate. So, I'm going to start first and tell you where we stand as side affirmative. As side affirmative, we are here not only to debate, but to educate people so that they can become intelligent when they're making their career choices according to which side will give you a more sustainable income. So instead of side opposition coming here to defend their points, we are here to enlighten you. So this is how I'm going to show you how that works. So the main clashes here were growth, stability, diversity, and predictability. Those were the things that were talked about on both sides. I'm going to start on growth. Side affirmative spoke about growth very well. Spoke about diversifying and growing, creating new products, and diversifying to get more income, which leads to sustainable income. On this side, they say they have better growth. And guess what they said? They said it's because they get training and scholarships to learn more skills. Learn more skills, but do the vacancies increase with your skills? Vacancies don't increase. So you're here learning new skills just to go and become unemployed. How does that lead to sustainable income? That is my question to you. I will go to the next point. On our side, we talked about financial freedom. On their side, they talked about stability. On our side, we talked about financial freedom, and let me make this clear. We did not talk about it as an end, we talked about it as a means. It is what helps us to be free to do a lot of things that can get us sustainable income. There's a lot that we can bring on the table with this financial freedom. On this side of their house, they were very much keen on how stability is their biggest thing, that they have the same salary over and over again. But are your expenses the same over and over again? Expenses increase, but your salary doesn't. Today and tomorrow, the consistency of your salary won't be helpful if something major occurs. If your salary is little, and over time you get a terminal disease, for example, say cancer, how is your consistent salary that is low going to help you? No, it is a sustainable income that comes from entrepreneurship that has been accumulated over time that is going to be more helpful than just a consistent income. Also, in the part of growth, I'd like to go back there. When they talked about growth, they spoke about it in very little terms. In sustainable income, we also talk about inclusive growth. We spoke of marginalized communities, how we help the marginalized communities. This is not about the people who are educated, the people who are in the city. We also account for the people who cannot access this education in order to get employment. We also talk about the people who are in the villages and everything. They have not talked about that. And while I say this, I would also like to remind you, they also did not account for the 72% of the informal jobs. They only spoke about formal jobs, and that's why they spoke about points like benefits. Benefits go to those who have formal opportunities. Tell me, does your house girl have pension? Does the worker outside there cleaning, do they have benefits? Do they have health insurance? No, they don't. So they accounted for very little. And also, we are talking about success rate. They talked about lack of capital on our side. They talked about how they don't have that problem on their side. But on our side, we showed you how much we have a lot on our table to help us with the success rates. We have capital from different places. Some of the businesses do not require capital. Some retailing and commissioning, you can work for a person and they can help you. They're the ones that are providing you with the capital and everything. So on our side of the house, that has been fixed because we also have the NBC Trigger loan that they give money to people to start enterprises and everything. So we have fixed the problem on our side of the house, and that cannot be used as a weapon against us because you can take a horse to the well, but you cannot force it to drink water. So the lack of capital is not our concern, but the person who is taking this capital and how they can help themselves work with it. So we have shown how on our side, there is nothing that is against us when it comes to creating sustainable income. But on their side of the house, they have not shown us how clearly they are better in creating a sustainable income. It is very clear that maybe both sides create a sustainable income, but when it comes to comparison, team entrepreneurship takes the win. Thank you very much.
We thank that speaker for that fine speech. And lastly, we'd like to invite the fifth speaker from the opposition here.
Imagine a world where every young graduate or any person dives into entrepreneurship. Sounds ideal, right? Foremost. Esteemed judges, respected audience, and worthy opponents, good afternoon. I'm Mahuvi Kavanuke, the fifth speaker for the opposition. And today we will discuss and we will convince you that regular jobs provide a more sustainable income than running a business. The affirmative side has presented their case with confidence. That I can agree with you, yes. But confidence alone does not make an argument unshakable. It is my duty to put their claims under the microscope to separate idealism from reality and reveal the cracks in their reasoning. Please stay with me. So they painted entrepreneurship as the ultimate path to financial success, but dreams without stability are just illusions. Let me take you back. So I respect the affirmative side's perspective, but their claim that businesses guarantee sustainable income lacks substance. It lacks substance. And I'm sorry, but this statement is becoming a little cliche and rather embarrassing for entrepreneurs, I have to say. This statement is that between 20% and 40% of startups fail in 2 years. This is just becoming really cliche and really embarrassing for entrepreneurs, and we're really tired of hearing it. Because economic downturns, market fluctuations, and global crises like the pandemics, like COVID-19, they make businesses like entrepreneurship highly vulnerable. In contrast, regular jobs provide a steady, predictable income. All these are key to financial stability and a sustainable income. And for startups, most startups are still in the early stages of putting their models into action. And what's the point of a startup if you can't even play your part up? I mean, it's just not okay. And the second thing is, by pursuing unproven business models, their founders are taking enormous risks. And third, to the untrained eye, to people who are not really familiar with all this, most startups will appear to be nothing more than just side projects with no commercial value. A perfect example, if you allow me to read, is from Tanzania's first crowdfunding platform, Gate Founding, created by Emmanuel David in December 2016. The startup thrived for 3 years before quietly shutting down. And why is this? Emmanuel himself openly criticized Tanzania's business policies and regulatory practices, which contributed to the failure of his venture. Ladies and gentlemen, we can clearly see that entrepreneurship does not lead to a sustainable income. My teammates have shown the stability of jobs. They have shown that having a regular job really leads to like more growth and stability. The Tanzania Employment Services Agency, TAESA, which was established in 2008, gives access to career and vocational guidance and employment counseling services. Someone in the affirmative side says that employees don't have like benefits and whatnot, but employees get a lot of benefits when you have a regular job. So, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, regular jobs offer stability, higher success rates, and better access to resources. And to the students here, I strongly and sincerely urge you to prioritize long-term financial security over short-term gains. Don't let the dream of entrepreneurship turn into a financial nightmare. Choose a secure future. Choose a regular job. Thank you.
All right. We are going to now have the drill questions by Team Affirmative.
You guys ready? Okay. Okay, so first, okay, I'll begin in 3, 2, 1. This is a yes or no question. Are employees not at risk of being fired if their key performance indicators are low? Yes or no question. Are employees not at risk of being fired if their key performance indicators are low? Yes or no? Yes.
It's a maybe.
Great. So you guys don't even have confidence in the fact that you are at risk of being fired in the first place. And if this is so, right, how can you argue that jobs offer true income sustainability if these people can be fired?
I say it's a maybe because there's so many laws and acts that protect an employee, especially like in public sectors, but also private sectors. That was the basis of the maybe. So you can't necessarily use KPIs as the only metric to decide to fire an employee.
Exactly, but there are so many other metrics that allow you to become fired, and so it's not stable in and of itself. Second questions. You tell us that jobs offer more security. Then why do so many people live paycheck to paycheck and struggle with financial emergencies?
I just want to go back to your first question, and I would recommend that you pass through the employment and labor relation laws in order to understand the termination of an employee. It is not a today's decision that I'm going to fire you tomorrow. It is a due process.
Okay.
And it is under very reasonable grounds that you're going to fire an employee. And I'm so happy that the Tanzanian laws are very protective when it comes to employee-employer relation. But I would also like to comment on the second question, a paycheck kind of life. This is the life one has chosen to do. Entrepreneurs also live on today's profit or a monthly profit, which is not predictable. So I think their life is even more hard because they cannot even foresee how they're going to live for the next month. And as I commented first, in a perfect market that has competition and constant changes in fluctuations.
Thank you.
It is not predictable.
Okay. So basically what you guys are saying is you're willing to become financially poor and keep living in debt rather than actually becoming financially free. That's what you guys are agreeing to. The final question is, since you guys fail to account for people who are in informal employments, even though they actually also have regular jobs, why don't these people not get access to these benefits in the first place? And how can you claim that this makes your side more sustainable? Why do you fail to account for people in informal employments?
I'll answer your question with a question and then answer it. So for these people, why is their option informal jobs and not entrepreneurship as you state? Because obviously, according to accessibility to resources and the position that they're in, it is more sustainable for them to opt for these regular jobs than to opt for this entrepreneurship you guys are advocating for.
Okay, so you guys necessarily mean to say that you don't even believe that people who are in informal jobs are sustainable in the first place because they're not assured to these benefits that you guys so claim to these people have. Thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. All right. Team Affirmative, do you agree that for enterprises to grow, they have to first attain stability?
As you said before, entrepreneurship can never have full stability in the way it operates. It usually fluctuates, but we embrace the fluctuations, and that's how it grows through the ups and the downs.
So is it a yes or a no?
Yes.
Do you agree that most businesses in countries like Tanzania haven't attained this stability and probability?
Sorry?
We tell you that this is because of the ecosystems that are set in place and not necessarily because of the entrepreneur career that is present in the systems. The regulatory compliances that do not favor these people in businesses, the extreme tax cuts, and all of those kinds of things. It is not necessarily because of the business itself.
Okay, so second question, if the existing ecosystems, like the first speaker stated, are the problem, how are businesses better in these already existing ecosystems?
Thank you for making this a comparison matter. They're better in this because a lot of solutions have been kept in place, creating laws, training these people to do their businesses better, and expanding even in marginalized societies. It is better than employment in this case because there have been very less solutions that have been there for unemployment in this case.
Interesting. So how effective are they?
Very effective. We've been giving throughout the debate.
And what is the percentage that entrepreneurs have multi-sources of income apart from their own business? What is the percentage that entrepreneurs have multi-sources of income apart from their own business?
Okay. According to the Tanzania Investment Forum, it has said that over 35% of the national GDP is provided by the small and medium enterprises. So actually, talking on these entrepreneurs, they've got higher percent to produce their own income.
I haven't really got a clear answer, like a clear explanation, because the question was, what is the percentage that entrepreneurs have multi-sources of income apart from their own business?
From that answer, you can see that the results are from something, we can say that there's a big percentage because of the results that have been seen in the increase in GDP. They can never be very exact estimates of the people because they are very small enterprises, but we understand that from the big result that is shown, it is a very big percentage that is very diversified in comparison to employment, whereby some of the jobs do not even allow a person to have other activities ongoing while working.
All right, we thank you very much. Now we shall move forward with the questions from the judges. We are going to start 10-minute session. We're going to start with Team Affirmative.
I think I am on the opinion that all teams are doing very good. It's a good job. That team, could you clarify to me why do you claim that there are limited diversification when it comes to employment as compared to entrepreneurship path?
Interesting. That's a great question, actually. You are limited in 3 things when it comes to having a regular job. Number 1, your time. Number 2, your energy. And number 3, your income. You see, when it comes to having a regular job, you usually have scheduled fixed times that don't allow you to engage into other income streams. For example, if you say that you work a 9-to-5 job, when are you going to get, and probably you're not going to be able to finish all your work by the time it gets to 5, right? So when are you going to get into this other income stream that you would likely want to get into? We tell you that in the side of an entrepreneur, this person can easily delegate, and this person can easily venture into these other sources of income, right? But we also tell you, number 2, when it comes to your income, we already spoke that your income is limited because it does not increase easily as portrayed by side opposition. We tell you that you have expenses that you need to account for. And because of those expenses, you're left with very little amount of money to actually invest into other sources of income. So that's while for side affirmative, we have multiple we are unlimited in the terms of how much we can earn, right? So we can necessarily earn a lot more money and use it to invest into other things. But I also tell you, number 3, when it comes to resources, right, and creativity, you can't invest in multiple market will and how this income will actually something that an entrepreneur has. They have skills that enable them to innovate and understand what the market needs, what the market demands, and so how their income can necessarily grow. And a person in a regular job does not have this information. They do not have these skills, and so they're not at a better position to diversify and increase their income.
Okay. How do you recommend on this situation where you have a fixed salary, you have incentives, you have bonuses, you have allowances? Does it, the perspective of diversity streams, or you made your point just basing on a fixed salary that an employee is getting?
Okay, thank you. Then we are saying we have the allowances and the grants, but those allowances, as we said, they are fixed. Maybe we say for a nurse, they're being promoted, but promotion takes a very long time, not within 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. It may even take 15 years for a nurse to be promoted. So within those 15 years, for an entrepreneur, even who is selling food, will have reached very far within 15 years.
Thank you very much. I also have a very short question to the team affirmative, and congratulations so far. And the question is, you have been criticized with the number of how long it takes before startups fail, etc., and they even said it's even becoming a cliche. Now my question is failure a bad thing? So I'm just offering you a lifeline there to rescue yourself from that hole. Is failure a bad thing?
Thank you for the second chance. We didn't get the time to rebut that, but we would like to talk about that. I started talking about it in the failure rates. Yes, it may happen that in the first 5 years, most of the businesses fail, but they revamp. As I said before, the ups and downs are what make a business stronger and not weaker. We embrace it. For example, Modeuji did not very well handle the family business in the first 5 years. It somehow failed, but later on, right now, he's very prominent. It is very same for Walt Disney, for a lot of other entrepreneurs. So the first 5 years that they fail does not mean that they never come back. They come back stronger because these fluctuations and these downturns are what make them stronger and motivate them to become more creative. Unlike on this other side, whereby if you're laid off, other places will take recommendations that this person was fired from this job, so we shouldn't take them. So for us, our downturns make us greater and not weaker.
Okay, all right. First of all, Karine, Kifaraja, you guys look alike. Eh? Nindugu, ama? That was just by coincidence. Okay, sawa. Yeah, so I would like you to convince me a bit around the issue of financial freedom that I heard one of you spoke about. You know, into entrepreneurship, the common structure is having a legal entity. Maybe like a company, Modeuji, those are extreme moments. Having a company is considered as a person in the lights of the law, but I think commonly word that is used, let's say a legal entity, all right? And usually, business owner of these companies, they are considered differently from the legal entity or that particular company. For example, if you're speaking about Karin, if you own, let's say, you own a Karin mill ground, the Karin mill ground will be treated differently from Karin as a person, all right? Now I'm coming to my question. If Karin mill ground, makes a lot of money, become quite successful, when we go back to the issues of financial freedom, just like what I said today early in the morning about define this terminology correctly, like in the morning I talked something about sustainable income and how important that we need to be able to define what sustainable income is. So when I come to the issue of financial freedom, so the scholars right now, they define financial freedom into different stages. First, ability to have the time to do what you want. Secondly, ability to spend your money in a way that you want. You can go shopping, you can go, while others are working and stuff like that. And then lastly, is the ability to become debt-free. A lot of business, to thrive, they need debts. So which means a lot of business, they're tied up to debts. I want you to hold on to that thought, number one. But secondly, as I mentioned earlier, the difference between the business owner and their business, these are two different people. So sometimes, as a business owner, maybe you may not have direct access to the fund or the money that your company make. Because remember, you're gonna have your board of directors, you're gonna have other shareholders. There's quite a bureaucratic process. So my conclusion, all the evidence they're pointing towards entrepreneur not being financial freedom from this context. Please convince me otherwise. Because I see on the other hand, employees, if they're having a good salary, most likely the level of debt they can have is different from corporates. Most likely if they wish to spend the money the way they want, maybe the only person who can ask them is their husband or their wife, if they're married in this case. But I see it difficult from an entrepreneur. So, is it fair to say entrepreneur cannot achieve financial freedom?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I think it really brings back things into perspective of how entrepreneurship actually does attain financial freedom. You speak of how companies have shares, right? And when you are a business owner, you're most likely going to be the major shareholder of that particular business because you initiated it and you started it. What happens is when Karen's milk company makes a lot of money, as it should, those profits that are going to be attained will be spread out throughout those shareholders, right, in form of returns. But then, as I pay for my expenses, what will remain will come to me, right? So that's necessarily where you become financially free because the earnings that you have gained, the amount of profits that you have gained are not limited to the contract that you have made with your employee. That's the difference, and that's where financial freedom can be attained, right? We tell you that debt exists, right? But being able to cover that debt is what necessarily makes you a person who is financially free, and it differentiates you from a regular worker. Me having debt, but me having debt of 100,000, but having income of 10 million necessarily means that I am able to pay for that debt, and that is what side entrepreneurship stands for. Thank you.
1, 2.
I think it's on now. Okay, let me repeat. So my question is a question that really offers you a lifeline similar to the other team. I'm just building on what Ellen Radios started with that quotation that salary is a bribe, etc., etc. You have been making your argument that a regular job offers that stability. They have come up with a counter argument saying that stability equals stagnation. But you have not engaged very effectively so far in arguing that stability does not necessarily equate to stagnation. If you believe so, can you make your argument to convince us that stability does not equate to stagnation? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the question. I think here we are dealing with humans. The employees are humans and not robots or machines of which are programmed like when you are given salary, it's when you remain stagnant like that. Okay, so the moment someone decides to engage in employment, he or she has the plans. And the plans comes from the fact that I know I'm going to be paid 1 million per month. So when I'm going to be paid 1 million per month, I know what am I going to do with this 1 million per month. Some amount I'm going to save, some amount I'm going to invest, and some amount I'm going to use. So these investments are the ones that are against the stagnation of what the proposing side states. So we are dealing with humans. So we adapt according to the environment. We have our own, we have our plans. So that's what I can say concerning the stagnation.
To that and how it is related to sustainable income. So we clearly showed how people with regular jobs have the chance to grow and improve in terms of their profession and in terms of their skills, which in turn also helps them advance further in the course of their career. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because I start as at entry level, it doesn't mean I'll always stay there. And actually, to add to what he said, there's also room for diversification of income passively through investing in stocks, in shares. I don't have to be an entrepreneur to do that. So that also accounts for the stability we talk about and the stagnation that they claimed.
Maybe can I add something on that? I will just give an example of an employee that has led to one of the most successful company today, which is Apple. And a good example is Tim Cook, who joined the company in 1998, but he succeeded to CEO in 2011. So there we can see growth, although it has taken quite some time, but he has grown from a position he was in to a higher position, which comes with more income and more stability.
I'd also like to add a little bit on that. So I think that innovation thrives in stability. Like regular job holders can make long-lasting plans, and also because they want to improve in the future. So even with this stability, they are assured that if I get a certain income every month, I'll be able to make this certain long-term income. So it also brings a lot of creativity and a lot of innovation, which will enable them to look to the future because they know that with this stable income, I'll be able to do this and this and this, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Okay. My question will go like, given the increasing reliance on entrepreneurship and the gig economy, what evidence do you have to suggest that a regular job provides more consistent financial security than owning an operating business?
So I'll start. First of all, to answer that question, we have to understand how the economic landscape of Tanzania looks like in terms of accessibility to these resources that enable entrepreneurs and equal accessibility to similar resources for regular jobs. So looking at the economic landscape of Tanzania, first, I'll tell you that these loans and probably the debts that side proposition talked about in terms of entrepreneurship, they're not just accessible to anybody who wants to start or just anybody who has a small business. Matter of fact, banks also have to ensure profitability. And so they have to check your income statements and how much you earn to ensure that when they give you that loan, you can really pay them back. So this is just like part of the nature of the economic landscape of our country. And so what is my point? My point is that according to this economic landscape, it is quite clear that the very few privileged are the ones who have access to such resources which can enable a person to succeed when they become entrepreneurs. And so to tell you that regular jobs ensure more stability, I can just tell you that when you weigh the accessibility to regular jobs and the accessibility to resources needed for entrepreneurship that these entrepreneurs need, you'll find that the accessibility to these regular jobs is actually quite better in the beam balance compared to the accessibility to these resources entrepreneurs need in relation to the economic landscape of Tanzania. Do you have?
I just wanted to inquire, maybe I did not get the question clearly, but the judge was asking also on e-economy, right? E-economy. Okay, fine.
I think mine I'll keep briefing, not to, still too much time that we have, the 10 minutes. So, do you remember this, what must I call this thing? The chicken and egg discussion, who come first? So I would like to, tie my question into that analogy as you're responding to me. I look at entrepreneurs in one group, and I think entrepreneur makes the regular job seekers existing after they existed, in a sense that the notion that I'm building, I think you guys need entrepreneurs, in a sense that they are the one who employ you. I do take note of a government being an option to, that for me, being an optional to creating an employment for the regular, salary earners. So in this context, please convince me, if it's otherwise, that you don't need entrepreneurs. And if your go-to employer in this case is the government, I think all over the world, in comparison to private sector, there's a very big cry out, of the government pay, which goes back to the same thing that maybe it's not very sustainable pay. So simply, in summary, convince me that you don't need entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you for that very good question. So I would like to take you back in history, in the era where industrialization did not exist, in the era where capitalists did not exist, in the area where the world wasn't as industrialized as it is now. So I can tell you for a fact that in that era, the government was the biggest employer. And I can tell you that these very employees of the government and the government work together to create these opportunities for the industrialists to take over and create these jobs. So we needed these people to create policies, to create this environment in the first place. And I also want to emphasize on what one of the previous speakers spoke about in terms of when we were answering the growth question. She spoke about the experience that is needed to grow, right? And from this experience, we can even see how business people ventured from regular jobs to open their own enterprises from working experience. Thank you. I answered your question.
Okay.
To win today's debate, we shall start with Team Affirmative. 5-minute speeches.
Thank you guys once again. So sweet. So I'll begin in 3, 2, 1. You see, why side negative fails this debate is because of mainly 3 reasons. They focus on many things that we already predicted. Actually, in my first speech, I already predicted what these guys were going to say. I rebutted them, and we cleared their case before they even started talking. But they fail because of mainly 4 things, right? If we prove that we can gain access to capitals, entrepreneurship is the better option. If we prove that jobs are actually fewer and so accessibility is not a probability in their side, we win. And if we also prove that people aren't actually being paid well and growth is very limited and very slow, we also win. And we have already told you of all of that. Judges, I hope you already took note. And audience, I believe you guys also heard this, right? And if we prove to how our arguments lead to sustainability, then we also take this debate. And that is where these guys fail, right? But let's start slowly. Let's tell you why we win the debate. We got here and we showed you how we attain sustainable income in the first place through entrepreneurship. We account for 2 enterprises. We account for small enterprises, medium and large enterprises, right? But we also tell you what our arguments are. We account for how entrepreneurship allows you to gain financial freedom, how people in marginalized communities who can't even get the regular jobs that these guys are talking about actually have a source of income and can put food in their families' tables, right? We talk about room for growth and we talk about diversification, right? And we relate it to sustainable income. We give you the key components of what sustainable income entails. We tell you that it is stable, it allows for growth, and it is diversifiable. These guys do not necessarily actually account for the population that actually has regular jobs in informal sectors. We keep engaging them in this aspect, but they don't tell us anything. How many of us know a person who studied a degree but ended up not getting employed? A raise of hands, guys. We know that these people exist, and these guys don't engage them in the first place. There are people who don't have these formal jobs and don't have access to these benefits that these guys are talking about, but they don't engage in that aspect. We believe that this puts them at a disadvantage, and therefore they have lost this debate. But they also don't account for the fact of sustainability equating to stagnation. We tell you that having a sustainable income does not necessarily mean, having constant paycheck does not actually mean sustainability. We talk of how expenses keep increasing with time. And because expenses keep increasing with time, your income that you generate does not necessarily account for this. What happens? You get into debt. And when you get into debt, now you have to work on paying that debt and also providing for your family and providing for yourself. We believe that this side loses on that front, right? We also tell you that, okay, we agree, guys. Entrepreneurship does have risk, but the profits that are realized through entrepreneurship and the economic freedom that is attained through this are way greater. So we would actually love to take this risk in the first place. And we also tell you of how we can mitigate this risk. My third speaker talked about risk mitigation. So at the end of the day, what do you see, right? You see a side that engages and you see a side that keeps ignoring what the truth of the matter is and what the reality is in status quo. We tell you that the side that mostly accounts for how these individuals sustain their lives can provide for their generations to come and also can grow. That is the side that deserves to take the win in this debate, and that is side entrepreneurship. But we also tell you that, we give you statistics of what status quo looks like. We tell you that 5 million people are employed by small, medium enterprises. So even these guys who like regular jobs can become employed in businesses. And we tell you that the problem is not entrepreneurship in and of itself. The problem is the ecosystems that are set in place. We're talking about the regulatory compliances that are set in place that are not favorable for these businesses to grow. We're talking about the tax cut, the extreme tax cuts that are present. What if we would sit down and actually understand that these businesses are profitable for these people and set changes that will develop these countries in the first place and enable environments for these businesses to thrive? What happens when we do that? What happens is we actually increase the number of businesses, right? And therefore we increase the number of people who are being employed by those businesses. We improve the state of the economy. We provide for people's income, and therefore we increase our GDP. We, at the end of the day, solve the problem much better than these guys do. And whatever that they come and tell you, because it's actually already late because we are done, guys, whatever they come and tell you, they can't change the fact of the matter that we have sustained, we have over-delivered on our side, and therefore we as side affirmative deserve to win this debate. I couldn't be more prouder to propose. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a really heated moment. I would like to remind the affirmative side, and I would like to, well, I'm a prospective teacher, and you know me, I like to teach. So there's a difference between a regular job and an informal job. A regular job refers to a formal employment position with a recognized employer, usually including a written contract, set working hours, benefits like paid leave and health insurance, and compliance with labor laws, while an informal job lacks these features, often with no contract, inconsistent work hours, minimal benefits, and limited legal protection, typically operating outside of official regulations and taxation systems. I hope I've clarified that. Honorable judges, esteemed opponents, ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest, everyone loves money, but no one enjoys financial uncertainty. Bills don't wait for business ideas to work, and landlords certainly don't accept the phrase, "I'm still building my brand to pay the rent." You can't say that to your landlord. And the truth is, sustainable income isn't about gambling on what might come, which is what the affirmative side is saying. It's about knowing exactly what will come, which is what we're saying. So throughout this debate, we have thoroughly examined the motion, analyzing the concept of sustainable income and evaluating which path is more sustainable, which in this case is regular employment. And this is what the debate was about. And we must recognize that this debate is not about which option can guarantee the highest income, but rather which one ensures consistency and predictability in earnings. So to effectively compare both sides, let's evaluate the key metrics that determine sustainable income. So this is our contributions versus to what the affirmative have contributed. So the first one is the risk versus reward balance. So for an income to be considered sustainable, it must balance risk with rewards. Businesses, while offering the potential for higher returns, they come with extreme financial risks, including failure, market volatility, and economic downturns. While regular employment, on the other hand, provides a stable and predictable salary, ensuring that risk is minimized while income remains constant. And employees do not gamble with their livelihoods. They receive their earnings regardless of market fluctuations. The second one is sustainability and predictability. Sustainability requires income that is steady and foreseeable. The very nature of entrepreneurship makes this impossible. Ladies and gentlemen, as revenue fluctuates with demand, competition, and external market forces. But regular employment, on the other hand, offers practicability, stability. Employees know exactly when and how much they will earn, allowing them to plan their financial futures without uncertainty. And this is what we're trying to say, that they can be stability, and this can force innovation and creation for a person in a regular job. And diversification of income sources. It is argued that entrepreneurship provides multiple income streams, but let us not forget that not all businesses succeed. And diversification often comes at the cost of high investment and increased workload. But regular employment, however, does not hinder diversification. Employees can still invest, they can still take on side projects, and they can still grow their wealth while enjoying the security of a fixed paycheck. The ability to diversify is not really exclusive to entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we also talk about the growth over time. Employees grow in their careers with guaranteed promotions and salaries. Now, if you weigh these metrics against the arguments presented by our opponents, while they emphasize the potential for wealth in business ownership, they fail to address the fundamental principle of sustainable income, which is consistency. Wealth is meaningless if it is not guaranteed. You need an assurance. And stability, security, and predictability remain the pillars of financial sustainability, all of which are found in regular employment. So, our arguments, ladies and gentlemen, the facts speak for themselves. A regular job provides stability, security, predictability, and low risk, all essential components of a sustainable income. For these reasons, we strongly urge you, ladies and gentlemen, to side with the opposition. Thank you.
Another round of applause for all of our debaters. Thank you very much. That was a tough one. So we are going to invite you guys to go back to your seats. The judges are going to enter the VAPIM room, and I'm just going to hand it over to Rio as the judges will be talking about it. All right?
Vijana musilale, lale lale, vijana musilale, bado mapambano. Who knows that song? No one. See, I was gonna give you, I come bearing gifts, okay? I come bearing gifts, and you guys are mocking me after this heated debate. So mimi nitaondoka na zawadi zangu. Nilikuwa nimekuja na zawadi. Vijana msifanye nini? Msifanye nini? Okay, since I'm going to give you an energy. Can we please stand? Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up.